Hello there, welcome back to the next Premiere Pro tutorial, and we want to continue the video effect options, and we want to continue into the blur and sharpen folder. We talked about camera blur, directional blur in previous chapter, so if you couldn't find them, you can easily go to the playlist of the Premiere tutorial and you find them there. So we want to continue on Gaussian blur. Gaussian blur, as you can see, they are somehow all blurs, and they do exactly the same thing, somehow similar to each other for your video or for your picture. For example, I'm going to bring this Gaussian blur for the first video, which is into this layer of V2 for me, and when I want to change some numbers or some effects in Gaussian blur, as you can see, it is added to the effects control in here, and the blurriness is 0. When I add it, you can see the blurriness is happening, something similar to directional blur and camera blur, but with small differences, and I will show you what the differences are actually. So as you can see, the blurriness is happening like this. It can be as much blur as possible. It can be added like a transition to your videos or your picture, but as I told you, directional blur make your video or picture more beautiful for transitions if you want to add. This is the Gaussian blur. As you can see, it makes your video or your picture this much blur, and even the blur dimensions are possible to be added like directional blur. In directional blur, you could give your video something like an angle from right, left, top, down, but in here you can, for example, choose horizontal. You can see that the blurriness is happening in a kind of horizontal way, or you can change it to vertical, and as you can see, the blurriness is happening in a kind of vertical way. Something like dimensional blur, but not that exact, because in that dimensional blur you could add the numbers, and by the numbers you could just specify the angle, for example, from right, left, this angle, that angle, this blurriness happen. But in here you have just vertical, horizontal, and horizontal and vertical, which is something that I mainly use, and I just add the blurriness number to the lowest or the highest as much as I want. So what is the difference between? Imagine that I cut this part of the video, Control K, and I come here and delete Gaussian blur for this one, and I add something like a directional blur in here. When I come here, you can see that this is the normal Gaussian blur, and for this one we don't have any blurriness. I'm going to bring directional blur, and I have brought it. So if I add the direction, for example, and I add blur length actually, so as you can see, let me add the same number for blurriness. Blurriness length is 91, and for here I'm just going to add blurriness to 91 again. So this is 91. This video has a 91 blurriness, but this video has directional blur. As you can see, they are somehow different. Even if I change this Gaussian blur from horizontal and vertical just to, for example, horizontal, as you can see, something like this happens, but this one is totally different than this, but the blurriness actually happened for your video. And then if I get back in here and I make it somehow vertical, as you can see, again there are differences, and that is because of the angle and the number and the degree that you give to the direction in here in directional blur. So if I get back here, I will get back to Gaussian blur one more time at the end of the video, because I'm going to show you something. The next part is reduce, interlace, flicker, after that sharpen, and after that unsharp mask. I have used them in different kinds of ways, but actually, believe me, they are not that useful for yourself, and you don't even need to know them. For example, if I bring something like a reduce interlace flicker, and I delete this Gaussian blur, as you can see, there is something like just soften, and when I do that, you can see something like a blurriness is happening. And if I add this number as much as possible, then you can see the blurriness in a kind of vertical way is happening for the video. But this is why that I do not use it while I have something like directional blur, while I have something like camera blur and Gaussian blur. I'm not going to use such a effect for the video, which is called reduce interlace flicker. Because I am a content creator, I'm not going to be that cinematic into the Premiere Pro, so this effect doesn't help me that much. And if I just delete it and come to the sharpen, look, you can just add sharpenings actually for the video. You can make the colors or the angles sharpener somehow, in this case, by adding the number and bringing the number to the high, or bringing that to the lowest amount. The lowest amount is normally this, it's 0, but if you increase it, you can see that some colors and some angles are being sharpened. And if I bring unsharp mask, you can see there are something like a mount. If I just do that, you can see that the sharpening is happening exactly like the previous one. The radius, as you can see, the color is somehow changing. And threshold, this is something between number 0 and number 1. It doesn't do anything, it just makes your video or your picture somehow in a kind of effect like this. If you want to explain something spatial, if you want to show something spatial, these effects could be useful. Or else these things do not do any special thing on your videos or on your picture, because as you can see, this is what is happening. And what you're telling, actually what I'm telling in this video, is not that important for the Gaussian blur or for the sharpening. Gaussian blur, maybe I can use it in some of my videos, but that is not important for sharpen or unsharpen mask. I'm talking totally about something different. I'm talking about, for example, how to use a Ryzen on your motherboard, or how to use something like that in your motherboard. That is the video, this is the content of the video. This is not necessary to show something by changing the video effect, by changing the picture or the video color, actually by unsharp mask or sharpen mask, unless there is something specific in your mind that you want to change some pictures, some video colors, to show something else, in order to specify and illustrate something that must be illustrated by changing all these sharpen and unsharpen mask into the video or the picture. So if I want to start with blur and sharpen effects in Premiere Pro, I prefer to do that with directional blur and Gaussian blur. So how can Gaussian blur make my videos beautiful? How can I make them effective and something like that? Imagine if I just delete unsharpen mask and I bring Gaussian blur one more time on my video. For example, I bring a kind of video, as you can see, I have used Gaussian blur in here. This is what I'm going to tell you right now. So let me bring another video. So this is the video, actually. Let me put it here like that. And as you can see, normally it's like this, and then I can make it bigger or smaller, actually like this, to delete these black spaces, to disappear these black spaces around the video. But as you can see, the video becomes like this, and it is zoomed very much. I don't want to have this kind of feature for my video, so I have to get it back and put it like this. So what happens to these black parts? You can easily do something with Gaussian blur. This is what I wanted to tell you. If you just bring this video to the next layer, which is below, by pressing Alt, I just added this video to the next layer. I'm in V6. So in here you can see these two videos are on each other, so I cannot see this one, and I can change the size of this video and I can make it this big. So then I can come to this layer, which is the layer below my main video, and I can bring Gaussian blur on it and start changing the blurriness. As you can see, I am changing the blurriness, so the video won't have that black screen, that black edge on the right or the left side. And while I'm playing that, you can see that in the background something blurriness is being shown, and that is exactly the same video but in a kind of zoomed way, because the main thing I'm gonna show is actually this video. And in order to avoid all those black edges on the right, on the left, top or down, I added Gaussian blur and I zoomed my video so that I don't see any other black edges around. So I use Gaussian blur like this I use Gaussian blur as I told you, but you can use directional blur as well. If you come here and you delete Gaussian blur and you bring directional blur, for example, on this you can give an angle, the angle that you like, and then you start doing this, and or for example this amount of lengths for blur, and then if you play that, as you can see, this is something like this happens. It is based on your taste. If you want to bring directional blur and do such a thing, if you want to bring Gaussian blur and do such a thing, even if you can just bring something like let me delete that and bring camera blur and do this. This is even possible, as you can see. It depends all on you, but if you come to the sharpen, unsharp mask and reduce interlace flicker, I'm not gonna use them for my videos because they do not do any special thing for my videos, and I'm not gonna show any specific thing by bringing them on my video. This is just for beauty maybe, or this is just for cinematic clips or pictures. But what I'm doing as a content creator is to illustrating some other things except me, except my video, except what is as the color of my video. So I don't need them on my videos or pictures. This is why that I'm not gonna bring them on any video or any of my clips. So this is how we handled blur and sharpen folder. Please check the other few videos that we have in our channel into this playlist about Premiere Pro tutorials and different kinds of aspects of that. And next video will be prepared soon. We're working on that. I'm not sure, but next week or maybe sooner, because I have received so many comments and actually so many messages that would you please send them sooner than 1 week. Yes, we are just working on them. I'm planning to send the videos sooner. So next session we'll be working on channel folder and color correction, because as you can see, channel has only one effect and color correction has a lot. So we will handle channel and then ASL, CDL, or brightness and contrast, and we will handle them in the next video. Please subscribe me, like this video, hit the notification button. Have a good day.